Hey guys, welcome to Potato Reads Reddit. I'm Potato, and today we have an OP who is dealing with the grief of losing her husband and a brother-in-law that apparently has exactly zero boundaries. Alright guys, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe and that notification bell too. It really does help out the channel, and we will dive right into the stories today. Our first story was posted by catmom3__4. Am I the asshole for kicking my sister's husband out of my house because of what he did? I, female 34, lost my husband 8 weeks ago. He had cancer and it got treated, then it came back. It was and still is so devastating. I'm trying to stay collected and welcoming to all supportive family members who come to offer help, despite my constant change in mood due to grief. My sister is the most supportive one, although her husband would act inappropriately sometimes, especially after he told me after the funeral that now I'm burden-free and can live my life, given I was my husband's sole carer. I try to let go of these comments, thinking he didn't know better. He, my sister, and my family came to visit last week. They cooked dinner for me and kept me company for a bit. After dinner, my brother-in-law asked for a minute with me inside the kitchen. He started telling me about a coworker of his who's single, then went on to list everything good about him. I was confused as to why he was telling me all that. He then reached out for his pant pocket and pulled a piece of paper with his coworker's phone number on it, telling me to give him a call sometime. I was floored. I couldn't really tell if he was joking or what, but he looked serious and kept insisting I take the number. I lost it. I just started yelling at him that my husband just died, and he was out of his mind to try and hook me up with a coworker of his. He tried to explain that it wasn't like that and that he was just offering me something helpful, but I didn't know what he meant. I called him disrespectful, then yelled at him to get out of my house. My sister and the others ran into the kitchen, not knowing what was going on. I told them, then pressured him to leave my house, but my sister asked that I calm down, but I couldn't. He left, then my sister left quietly. After I calmed down, I sat with my family and they said I was right in that what he did was not okay, but I needed to keep in mind that he and my sister helped so much by cooking for me, comforting me, and doing so much for me in these difficult times, so I shouldn't have reacted like that and could have been a little more considerate and graceful. They said kicking him out was too much, and I should call him later and talk things out so I won't ruin my relationship with him and possibly my sister. It's been days, and I haven't called, and my sister hasn't visited or called, which means she is upset with me, and now I'm beginning to think they're most likely hurt because I acted ungrateful after everything they've done for me. OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. I might have been with kicking him out, knowing he and my sister were so supportive of me. OP, you're definitely not the asshole, and that was just like a really gross thing to do. Yeah, your brother-in-law was just straight up being gross. So, no, not the asshole at all. I don't even think that further explanation is required. It doesn't matter how much help they provided for you in that. Yeah, no amount of help would warrant behaving in such an absolutely atrocious manner. So, no, definitely not the asshole. I'm going to leave any further analysis up to you guys down in the comments below, and we'll move on to the comments from the post. Esterine says, not the asshole. Actions are not balancing each other. It doesn't work like that. It's not as if preparing meals for someone allows you to be inappropriate with them afterwards. I'm exaggerating here. I prepared a meal for you, and I think you're stupid, by the way. Hey, don't insult me. Well, I cooked for you, remember? Be More Sky and Sea responds to that saying, seen elsewhere on Am I the Asshole today and somewhat applies. A favor held for ransom is no favor at all. Love Beach 8 says, not the asshole. He was way out of line and needed to be told to back off. How cold and rude. You are grieving for your husband and you may never want to date again. It's only been 8 weeks. I'm so sorry for your loss. I'm sending you my sincerest condolences. You don't owe anyone an apology. What he did was outright callous. Barbamaman says, not the asshole. He was clueless and cold and totally lacked empathy. Grief makes us extremely sensible, so of course his rudeness was extra painful. This is where, if you want, there is room to mend the relationship, if you want. You can call your sister and say that you appreciate everything they have done to support you since your husband's death, but that your brother-in-law's offer was too soon and misguided, and that in your grief, your reaction was amplified. If he is willing to apologize for his lack of tact, you can apologize for the force of your reaction. You did not overreact. I think he should be the one to make the first gesture towards reconciliation, but he has proven he lacks completely in compassion and sense. So if you feel like it, this could be a way to move past this. Judge Jude Am I the Asshole says, not the asshole. I can't tell if your brother-in-law is an actual jerk or just astonishingly lacking in empathy and social judgment. But either way, his actions were wildly insensitive and inappropriate, and your actions completely understandable. Alright guys, that's it for the comments on that post. Why don't you let me know what you thought down in the comments below, and we'll move on to the next story, which is posted by AbuserHS7162. Am I the asshole, male 24, for not throwing out my racist collection after my girlfriend, female 24, demanded me to? I collect and make plastic models of various war machines and keep it in one of my rooms. It's a hobby for me, and I've been doing it since I was 18. My girlfriend of 9 months recently demanded I throw out about half of them because she thinks they're racist and fascist. I have around 40 tanks and planes, models from various countries of the world like Soviet Union, USA, Israel, Germany, and she demanded that I throw out all the German, Japanese, and Israeli ones. I really don't have any political motivation behind these models, and I keep them as a hobby. But there is a cultural difference between me and my girlfriend, so maybe it's not acceptable? I am a Japanese guy, and she is an American woman, and I heard America is really serious about racial stuff. I try to tell her that it's my collection and I work hard on, and I just like planes and tanks appearances, and not the politics behind them. But she says she doesn't want a racist boyfriend, and she will break up with me if I don't throw them away. We had a long talk about this stuff for like 3 hours, and I am still not going to throw it away, so she got angry and left my house early. I love her, but I don't think I'm willing to throw away something I worked so hard on for years. But at the same time, I am not sure how acceptable these kinds of models, tanks, and planes are. I'm wondering how acceptable these things are internationally, and if she was in the right, am I the asshole? OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. It may not be acceptable overseas due to politics, and I may be in the wrong for refusing. Okay, OP, not the asshole. The things themselves inherently are not racist, and that's generally the mentality of the West. The tank is not racist. The man that piloted the tank may have been racist. It's not like you're creating fan fiction that rewrites history as Germany winning the war. No, you're just building a plastic model Panzer tank, I assume. So no, not the asshole at all. Bayor says, not the asshole. It is not racist at all. Your girlfriend needs to chill out. In fact, it is slightly racist of her to pick out 3 countries as untouchable, as if Soviet and British and American militaries never did anything objectionable. Good Girls Grace says, something is only racist if it's used with racist motivation or intent. Edit to add, not entirely true. Some people perpetuate harmful stereotypes about race without meaning to, which can be considered racism. OP collected those plastic models not because he supported racism or fascism. He just collected them for them. If she's this fussy over a mere healthy, fun hobby, OP has to either seriously talk to her about her priorities, or just throw her out in place of the models, which he should keep. Also, raising awareness about race and being a drama queen are 2 different things, and it seems OP's girlfriend is the latter. It's just a damn hobby. The models OP collects are not representative of his character. Like, I watched a bunch of movies with garbage men, but that doesn't mean I hate women. The machines didn't go kill a bunch of people on their own accord. Why does she consider them to be racist, rather than the actions of the people who operated them? Like, think about it. If that very tank was used by American troops, would she consider it racist? He's collecting the tank, not the operator. This should be a non-issue. Also, her logic is deeply flawed. She wants to throw the Japanese tanks out because they're racist? Does that mean she thinks OP is racist too? OP, I would recommend you rethink this relationship. I don't think any reasonable adult would associate plastic models with their partner's character. Just tell her, Americans have killed hundreds of thousands of Japanese people. So I don't think it's wise for me as a Japanese to be in a relationship with one of them. We should break up. Don't you think our relationship is racist? Actually, don't tell her that. I'm petty. Slow Bumblebee 8609 says, not the asshole. Those aren't racist at all. Volkswagen isn't racist either, even considering the circumstances it was founded in. The only thing that would be in poor taste would be making an exact replica of the concentration camp trains. The rest of the machinery is pretty much apolitical. Considering you are Japanese, by those standards, it could be considered that US tanks and models are racist, because they killed a ton of innocent Japanese civilians. Disclaimer, I don't think the machines were the issue. Americans often seem to be centered too much in race and labeling everything. No one can be just an American if they are a person of color. I would be careful, however, if she gets to be alone with those models. Even if you are in the other room of the house, she could potentially try to throw them into the trash and damage them in the process. Edit for comma. Mobile Feed 9928 says, quote, Americans often seem to be centered too much in race and labeling everything. No one can just be an American if they are a person of color. As is very evident in whole groups of Americans labeling every black person as an African American. Not every black person is immediately American, as well as it's weird that some Americans seem to want to claim all black people as Americans. Edit. Wasn't sure if saying black people was allowed on Reddit. Goth Bat Baby says, not the asshole. I collect books about cults and serial killers, but I don't support murder. This is so dumb. Throw out the woman instead. That Marvel dude 1012 responds to that saying, I just love throw out the woman instead. And OP has provided us with an update in the form of an edit. I talked to her on the phone about it to try and make a compromise, but she doubled down and said I have to paint the models completely orange, even the ones that she did not have a problem with. I obviously refused, and now she's really mad and saying I don't love her and accusing me of cheating. I'm honestly about to break up. Our next post is from Rosemary67976. Am I the asshole for interrupting my fiance's sleep and yelling at him for locking out my cats for 4 hours? I, female 30, own 3 senior indoor cats in the house I live in. My fiance Jacob, male 33, isn't too fond of them, and he sometimes picks fights with them, but does this in a light-hearted way and says he's just venting about the stuff he thinks they do wrong. He's a cop. He covers night shifts during the week, then gets home in the morning and gets some sleep while I'm at work. For the past few weeks, he's been complaining about my cats not letting him sleep by either playing on his feet or pulling the sheets or dropping stuff and causing him to wake up. He said because of this, he now suffers from lack of sleep and rise in anxiety. Yesterday I got home at 2 p.m. Once I pulled in the driveway, I noticed my cat sitting near the garage. The weather was cold at the time and I was confused why they were outside. I came to discover that both the front and back door were locked from the inside. I used my key to get my cats in and went into the bedroom and found Jacob asleep. I woke him up to ask him why my cats were outside, and he said he locked them out himself so they wouldn't interrupt his sleep. I was fuming, basically started yelling at him while he was trying to go back to sleep. I asked what the heck was wrong with him. He said it wasn't a big deal, the cats were just chilling outside for about 4 hours while he got some sleep since they don't stop interrupting it. I said he had no right to do this, but his argument was that it was a temporary solution since I ignored his complaints about how the cats are causing him to be sleep deprived when he should be resting after a stressful night at work. He called me selfish to interrupt his sleep and yell at him, and said that I shouldn't be mad at him for trying to bring order back into the house. I called him a jerk, and he said something that has stuck in my mind since he said it, and that is, I deal with the worst kind of people in my life, and you're one of them. He then went to stay at a hotel to get the rest he needed. He started texting about how I have no respect for him, his job, his time, his sleep, and wants me to apologize for blowing up at him. Am I the asshole for this reaction? OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. I might have overreacted on top of dismissing the fact that he's sleep deprived because of the cats, and was probably feeling frustrated with the situation. No, OP, you're not the asshole in this situation. It's perfectly understandable for you to be furious that your indoor elderly cats were put out into the cold where they could get hurt. Yeah, no, not the asshole. Also, that line of his that's something special right there. That is way over the line of abuse. The whole thing seems kind of over the line of abuse to me. So you should probably get rid of the man, get another cat. That's going to be my recommendation. Okay, OP? So that's about all I have to say about it. Let me hear from you guys down in the comments below. Love to hear what you guys think of the story, and we'll move on to the comments from the post. Nin Bonnery Tram says, "Not the asshole," end quote. "I deal with the worst kind of people in my life, and you're one of them," end quote. Get out now. Don't marry someone who would compare you to the worst kind of criminals for defending your own animals. Sad Suggestion replies to that saying, "I second this. Getting upset because your cats could have been hurt and yelling about it is nothing remotely similar to the criminals he deals with at work. Unless you live in a tiny town where the crime rate is low and the worst he sees is a kitty stuck on a roof, he shouldn't be saying stuff like this. So get out and find yourself someone better." Good Girls Grace responds to that saying, "Not just comparing her to the worst criminals, he said she's the worst kind of people. Like, dude, why get engaged to her then? Isn't she the person you're supposed to love and respect the most? I would consider this a deal breaker. First, he unilaterally made a decision that could have seriously harmed the cats. They weren't chilling, they were locked outside for hours in the freezing cold. They could have run away or got killed. Second, he called OP the worst kind of people. Either he has no respect for her, or he has serious trouble separating home life from work. And last, he's gaslighting OP, accusing her of his wrongdoings, to try and make her believe she's being disrespectful when she's just protecting her pets. Not the asshole, OP. Is there not an arrangement where he could sleep in peace without throwing the cats out?" John Stoppable says, "Not the asshole. I also have cats that prevent me from sleeping at times. I put them out of the bedroom, not out of the house in the freezing cold. Yes, his sleep is important, but there were other steps he could have taken. He chose to escalate, making a unilateral decision that could have had serious consequences. He then doubled down by making himself the victim and equating you with criminals." Right. From the Back 6996 says, "Not the asshole. He can easily lock them out of the bedroom. No problem with that, but to kick them into the cold, I would have made him pack his stuff and leave. That's a deal breaker for me." OP responds to that saying, "Yes, he could, but I don't know why he chose to lock them out of the house completely. It wasn't even sunny or warm outside, and my cats were being kept away from their food and cushions." Alright guys, that's all we have for that story. Why don't you let me know what you thought down in the comments below, and we'll move on to the next one, which was posted by a throwaway. Am I the asshole for not liking Indian food? Throwaway to hide my main account. My 30 male, girlfriend 27 female is Indian. She moved to the US a few years back. I'm American, white if it matters. We live in North Carolina. My girlfriend loves to cook. She told me so on our first date. However, I'm not the biggest fan of Indian food. I find that a lot of spices used in Indian food irritate my stomach, and I have a very low tolerance for hot and spicy foods. She never had an issue with this and never forced me to eat anything I didn't want to. In fact, whenever I stayed over, she made me things like pancakes and French toast, and they were incredible. She is a very good cook. 2 weeks ago, we moved in together. Our place has a large, fully equipped kitchen, and my girlfriend was ecstatic about all the things she can do. I was happy to see her so happy. However, in all our excitement, I didn't realize our food preferences had actually become a problem. You see, I didn't realize that she cooks and eats a lot of Indian food. Like, all the time. Dude, she's Indian. Yeah, of course she eats a lot of Indian food. I don't know how you missed that. For the past year, whenever we've spent time at each other's apartments, she always made me things like ramen, pasta, lasagna, tacos, soup, grilled cheese, etc. I figured that's what she normally ate. I have a few Indian American friends, and they've told me they don't exclusively eat Indian food at home. So I thought it was the same thing with her. Yesterday she was super excited to show me something and dragged me to the kitchen. There, she unveiled a whole drawer of spices. We're talking 20 to 30 different types of whole, crushed, powdered spices, neatly stored in glass bottles and labeled. I asked why she needed so many spices, and she replied, "To cook Indian food, silly." I told her that I didn't like Indian food, and she told me not to worry. She wouldn't force me to eat anything, that it's just for her meals, and that she'd make separate meals for me. I asked her if she could simply not cook Indian food at all in our house, because the smell is so pungent, and if she'd cook regular food instead. She told me that Indian food is regular food for her, and I'm going to have to get used to it. I insisted, and she said that she'll only consider giving up cooking Indian food if I give up cooking meat at home. She's vegetarian, because she doesn't like the smell of meat being cooked. I told her that it was an unfair ask because she never objected when I cooked with meat at my apartment. She told me that she's only demanding that I give it up because I'm doing the same thing to her. I got quite mad and told her she was being extremely unreasonable as I need meat. I work out a lot and I need the protein. No, you don't, man. There are absolutely vegetarian, so I'm not vegetarian myself, but there are absolutely vegetarian supplements for you. Anyway, but she doesn't need to eat Indian food all the time and can order takeout if she craves it. She told me that restaurants are not very good where we live and that it's unhealthy to eat takeout every day. We ended up arguing for a while and now we're not talking to each other. Am I the asshole for insisting she doesn't cook with spice? And OP apparently copy and pasted one of the rules directly into the thing. So anyway, I'm just gonna go right into my judgment because yeah, you're the asshole. And here's why. Yeah, that's regular food. You started dating an Indian woman from India and expected her not to eat Indian food? That's kind of absurd. Look, my wife is Vietnamese, and she cooks Vietnamese food, and she cooks with fish sauce. And I am not the biggest fan of fish sauce. I do like Vietnamese food. She cooks some delicious dishes. And dude, you should definitely try the Indian food because, I mean, real Indian food from India. First off, the spices are not as harsh on your stomach as you think. They're very well mixed and they don't destroy your stomach like the American bastardization of Indian food does. So you should definitely give her cooking of Indian food a try. If this relationship lasts, because, I mean, you just basically crapped all over her culture, dude. Like, people's cultures are like 30% food, okay? And the second you insulted her culture, you told her you had no respect for her culture, and in turn, have no respect for a very large part of her. So, my wife never makes me eat any of the food. I always try it when she cooks a new dish. She doesn't make me eat it. And some of it I enjoy, some of it I don't. Like I said, the fish sauce I'm not a big fan of, and it's very pungent, but it doesn't matter, right? Like, she wants to stay connected to her culture. It reminds her of home. She traveled halfway around the world to be here. What kind of a horrible, miserable person would I have to be to say, oh no, you can't have the food you want? No, you are absolutely the asshole. Go apologize to your girlfriend. Beg for her forgiveness, and don't do this again, and let her cook whatever she wants in that kitchen. Alright, so we're going to move on to some of the comments from the post. Why don't you guys tell me what you think down in the comments below. C Amphibian 8456 says, as a person of South Asian descent, you're the asshole, and kinda racist. The way you say regular food, then list all Western dishes is very telling. So what? Our foods are irregular, gross, and smelly? Get out of here. And the spices freaked you out? I'm honestly baffled. If it ain't salt and pepper, it's weird and makes me so angry. I go eat meat now. I regular American. Grrr! No spelly spices in my regular American house. Don't you think as South Asians we look at Western food and don't have a clue why or how you could eat it? The idea of pungency only in Asian food? Like, dude, WTF? To Asians, especially vegetarian ones, the way you consume and prepare meat is gross to us. Yeah, the smell too. And your use of my other Indian friends eat? You know India is country combined with a lot of different variety, even though they're all Indian. Read a bloody book. You can live without meat. There are Indian bodybuilders and other athletes who are fully vegetarian. They manage fine. Other ways to get that protein. If you want her to live on your food, you can learn to live without meat. Fair is fair. Also, order your meat if you want it so badly. Wasn't that the solution you gave her? But let me guess, your bigoted head just doesn't want the weird-smelling food in your nice American house. I hope she dumps your butt for a man with some taste buds and knows what seasoning is. You're the asshole. Ermi the cow responds to that saying, yet he will eat tacos, and Mexican food is spiced. And ramen. Does he think proper Japanese ramen doesn't have spice in it? It's pretty clear his problem isn't spice. His problem is he doesn't appreciate his girlfriend's culture. And that's actually really sad. Lady Wildcat responds to that saying, his idea of ramen is probably instant chicken ramen that's mostly salt. Sweaty Spaghetti 15 says, you're the asshole for using the words regular food alone. India is a huge country with a lot of cuisines. Even if your girlfriend only cooks food from one region, there are dozens of dishes she could make. Not all Indian food is hot or spicy. If you don't like any spices, including savory ones, and only like bland food, so you're asking her not to use any spices in her cooking, then yeah, that's totally unreasonable. This is the food she grew up with. Of course she would eat it frequently, and her giving up her familiar food in exchange for you giving up meat? That was an extremely generous offer. Much more unfair to her than you. I don't think you two can live together if you really don't want her to cook her food. SquareAd5688 responds to that saying, I have a lot of friends who have migrated out of India and food is one of the ways they deal with homesickness. It is really mean that OP wants to take that away from her. Tulip Bunnies responds to that saying, considering the fact OP's girlfriend recently moved to the US, from her home country I assume, I would not be surprised that she might feel the same way. I've never even been to my parents' home country, but I regularly eat my culture's food. The audacity of OP demanding that she stop eating her own food. Love Me Long Time says, you're the asshole, and this is why you live together before you get married. So you can find out if you are compatible before you are legally bound, and sadly you are not compatible. If you don't even like the smell of Indian food, well, fine, you can live with somebody that doesn't consider Indian food to be normal. Your girlfriend is bending over backwards trying to cater to your tastes and you aren't even trying. I hope she moves her lovely drawer of spices and everything else into a place where she can be herself, and find somebody that can appreciate her. Alright guys, that's all the stories we have for today. I'd love to hear what you guys think of it down in the comments below. Also let us know what you think of the channel, what you think of the stories, if there's any stories or subreddits that you think that we should read or take a look at. Also hit that like and subscribe button and that notification bell too. It really does help out the channel a whole lot. Alright guys, thank you for spending about 20 minutes to half an hour with me today. I hope you really enjoyed the stories and I hope you have a great day. Alright, bye.